Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and today I am joined by Mr. Joey Pedras.
How's it going?
Today is February 24th, 2023. It is officially Twin Peaks Day.
Twin
I,
Peaks Day.
I know for a while we used to joke about how every day was a Twin Peaks Day, but today really is a Twin Peaks Day.
This is the ultimate. This is number one. This is it's not 119. It's not January 19th or November 9th or anything like that. It's today.
Absolutely. So how have you celebrated so far?
So far, I posted some stuff on social media, and that's as far as I've gotten. I had coffee this morning, but I have coffee every morning. So
There you go.
Every day is Twin Peaks Day.
Exactly. I've noticed that people are, for obvious reasons, concentrating on the front half of the series because obviously it's dealing with Laura, and of course Fire Walk with Me. And some of those pictures are great, and I always like it when somebody discovers a picture that either I haven't seen, which is rare, or one that I haven't seen in a while and I forgot I've ever seen it. Because sometimes the same pictures get regurgitated, but whenever somebody throws up something new, it's like, ooh, I like that. Or someone takes a screen grab of a frame that isn't normally shown,
shared.
I get really excited about that. But it's just crazy to think about what it's been. Well, this will be the 6th year since season 3.
6 in what, 2 months? May, 3 months?
Right. So it's been about five and a half years since we met.
Yes.
I think every single one of us watching as well as participating in these shows believe that something else would have happened by now, or at least the confirmation of we're not interested anymore, or something. For a long time, there were these teases out there that something could be happening, potentially be happening. Obviously, all those kind of stopped when the pandemic happened, with the whole Wisteria and Unrecorded Night and all that kind of stuff. And for a long time, like many out there, like I completely believed it. And it wasn't so much just because the actors were posting purple flowers everywhere. It was because there were scripts that were being copyrighted. Peter Deming did confirm that him and Lynch were planning on working together on a project prior to the pandemic. So
he had posted pictures from Snoqualmie, right?
Right.
Or that area.
Well, he said, he was up there, presumably with his family, but it was it was a different season than when we had normally seen Twin Peaks. So it just seemed like, oh, well, maybe, just to go up there, get some exterior little shots up there from a different season.
It's possible. Something called Wisteria probably would take place in the spring, I imagine.
Right. So it's just, there were a lot of factors that made it seem like it was a very plausible thing. Who knows where we are right now? That's why there's an 8-hour video on my channel where I combined all the little videos I made about it into one giant thing. All the conspiracy theories out there. And I called it the rise and pause of Wisteria Unrecorded Night. Not the rise and fall, because I don't believe it's fallen. I think it just got paused. And I think that video actually ends with you and me basically saying I don't know what's going on, but it looks like it's paused. And that's where we're at.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they were working on something. I'm sure schedules got weird. Obviously, the pandemic was also going on, but I think people had conflicts. Obviously, if Kyle was involved, he was working on a lot of other stuff too. So,
but something tells me that Lynch kind of has a little Kubrick power, where he could say, make sure it says in your contract that you get 3 weeks off around this time.
Possibly, yeah.
There was the little boy from Jurassic Park. Kubrick was interested in him being in Wartime Lies or in AI. And so the little boy went from Jurassic Park to this movie called The River Wild with Meryl Streep and Kevin Bacon, sort of like an action adventure on the rapids. Kubrick had it put in the boy's contract, you cannot change his hair. Because so even though Kubrick had nothing to do with The River Wild, he made sure that the boy's hair could not be touched, cut, trimmed, dyed, anything, because he was going to use him in his next film.
It's pretty funny.
So I think Lynch kind of has that kind of power sometimes. I don't think he just says, he'd probably just say, Kyle, can you just
yeah, Kyle definitely has something.
So Peter's here in the chat. Hello. Jamie's here. Hello. Pimpin' X is here. It says Joey.
Hey.
Happy Twin Peaks Day to all. So there's a lot of people who go back and rewatch the pilot or watch Fire Walk with Me the night before.
Mm-hmm.
If you had all the time in the world and you were going to watch anything having to do with this world or David Lynch in particular, is there something that you would be drawn to go with
on Twin Peaks Day?
Yeah,
I think what I've always done, I switch either between watching the international pilot or Fire Walk with Me, because those are a little bit easier to just digest. You could sit and watch and get a whole experience from one viewing. But I think last year, since we had the Z to A and the 4K, I think I watched the pilot, but I haven't decided today yet.
Did you watch it in the 4K?
I did.
Yeah, how was that?
It was okay. It didn't jump out to me. It didn't seem like I have a 4K TV. I have HDR, whatever. It didn't seem like they did as much. They didn't do as much as they could have, I think.
So there's not like HDR and things like that.
No, not that was obvious to me. It was like sharper. They definitely upscaled it, but I don't know. I feel like they could have done more with it. It just seemed like they might have like just pulled it up, sharpened it a little bit, cleaned it up, but it doesn't feel like how Criterion remaster stuff, like clean it up, really kind of rejuvenate it.
Right.
It just felt like almost like an upscaling of it, or they just scanned it. They did some minor edits. And
so if it came out that there was going to be a 4K set of the whole series, that wouldn't interest you?
It depends who was engineering the 4K set.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd ask that question first, and then maybe decide, because if it's the same company that did this, the scan was fine. The scan was clear. I just think they could have done more. So if you're just fine with like a 4K scan, upload, maybe slight tweaks, I think you're good. Mm-hmm. I'm just used to like the Criterion way of like remastering stuff and upscaling, which is like done with like love. So I don't know.
So you mentioned the international pilot. I don't know if you saw this online. I think I sent it to you actually. I found this absolutely fascinating here.
Oh yes.
That in the alternate ending of the pilot, the international version of it, they flash a portrait of what somebody, or actually it's kind of a tease. They're trying to trick the one-armed man into revealing who is Bob, and so they show him a couple like fake drawings to see if this guy is like crazy or can actually match Bob, which he actually does. But the first picture they hold up, which I always thought was sort of a Gandhi-esque type of photo, somebody online says it looks a lot like this guy here from season 3. I don't think that they meant to have this connection, but like a lot of things in the Twin Peaks world, connections seem to be everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put it past anybody that, they rewatched this and said, hey, let's tie this in somehow.
But this is interesting, because if this was a genuine connection, right, then it's suggesting that the alternative ending to the international pilot, or no, sorry, the alternative ending to the pilot, but it's the international pilot, is our first glimpse of a multiple timeline situation.
when you open up that sandbox, you could go back and say, hey, this is World Twin Peaks World 2, and the show is World 1, and season 3 is World 3 or 4, whatever. I think you get to play around a little bit with some of that stuff.
Because I always found interesting that when Cooper in episode 3, it's hard for me to get those numbers because for a long time episode 3 was episode 4 to me because I always said the pilot was episode 1, but then obviously the pilot is the pilot. But when I was growing up, the pilot I always thought was the first episode.
Yeah.
But in episode 3 at the start, when the sheriff and Lucy come into the Great Northern and meets him for breakfast, and he tells him about his dream, right? The dream he tells Truman and Lucy is the ending to the International Pilot, not the dream we saw in the previous episode. Now, I had somebody say to me the other day, well, I always assumed, the International Pilot's ending was the dream. We just saw different snippets of it. Okay, that may be true. However, it wasn't presented to us in that way. We didn't see Mike shooting Bob in the dream. We do see it in the International ending. So it's just like, it's so interesting to me that like I've shown Twin Peaks to a number of people and everyone's watched it and everyone's on the, who killed Laura Palmer? And they get to that moment where he's telling Truman and Lucy, and not one person that I've ever shown it to has ever said to me, well, that's not what I saw. So like when he says, Bob vowed to kill again, so Mike shot him. Do you know where dreams come from? It's like, it's so under his breath, like, oh, and then Mike shot him. What? It's like,
and everybody kind of just goes with it. Yeah.
They just go with it. And yet that's not at all what we saw in the series. But I found it interesting that it connected an ending to the pilot, which we were never really supposed to see. It only was because season 1 was such a big hit that they released that version of the pilot on VHS. They never released the US version of the pilot until I believe it was the gold box set. I believe that was the first time that the pilot was ever officially released in its US form.
And how long after the show aired was the gold box put out?
2007?
Yeah, so
17 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they aired on Bravo and it was airing on Netflix, but in terms of a physical release, like even the VHS boxes that came out in the mid-90s did not have the pilot attached. It started, you put in tape 1, Cooper was hanging upside down in the Great Northern. And what was so crazy is they put like 5 or 6 episodes on a tape. Nuts. So it was like SLP, so it was like really bad quality. Sometimes they had a manufacturing problem where like episodes would double back and show back up on episode 5 or tape 5. So like it was just like episodes would just randomly get put on different tapes. And then Suncoast Video was charging $80 for the entire box. I bought 2 of them for people. I never kept them. I would buy one and give it to somebody because I always had the original recordings, and those were much better than anything they were releasing at Suncoast. But
yeah, I have one of those box sets in the other room, but I haven't really watched them.
You do have one?
Yeah.
You should
season 1, yeah.
Okay. Well, the season 1 is fantastic because it was 1 episode per tape.
Yeah, I haven't watched it because I don't have a functional VCR at the moment, but I'd like to at some point.
Right. So there's another cool thing here. I wanted to show you. Let's see if I can even find it on here. But Fake Colossal on Twitter. I think it's right. Let me see. Pull it up here. Oh yeah, here it is, right here. This is very interesting because remember when season 3 came out and they matched the Cooper in the box, and then it was with was Cooper in the box, and then it was matched up with, and of course I can't remember
him in the purple room.
Him in the purple room. And then there was the whole thing with like Ruby screaming in the
Roadhouse.
Thank you.
And then the fork, right?
Right. I came so close to saying Bang Bang Bar, and I was gonna kill myself. So, anyway, Fate Colossal found out. Look at this little matchup here.
Oh, I think I saw this.
When Cooper disappears after talking with Philip Jeffries, it's the same moment when pretty much when the angel disappears. He's thinking about it. Watch this, and then look at this. He's kind of materializing himself there, and then cut. Fantastic, huh?
I could see that.
I don't know if, again, connections everywhere. And no, Mary Sweeney editing that thing was not, Dwayne Dunham in season 3 wasn't trying to like match Mary Sweeney's editing, but it's just interesting once you get into the rhythm of this material, it seems to want to be connected.
Yeah. And that kind of goes into the whole Lynch thing anyway, the unified field stuff.
Right.
So it could be intentional. It could just be, happenstance.
Let's see.
I don't know what else to call it.
Jamie says, I watch Fire Walk with Me. That's how I celebrate Twin Peaks Day. I would watch the fan cut if you can get a hold of it. The Q2 fan edit.
I still need to watch that.
That is the way to do it, folks. Paco says, happy Twin Peaks Day, everyone. Jamie says, that is an interesting likeness, maybe an accidental prophetic moment. I'm thinking Lynch has The Shining. I think also, when you put Mark Frost and David Lynch together, if one's not thinking about, the other one is, and it kind of just molds together. Morton is here. Hello, Morton. Great to see you.
Hello.
So anyway, yeah, it's been a while since we've been on here talking Twin Peaks, but
now I'm a little rusty.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing shows here and there, but not like we used to, because obviously there's really nothing to report.
Nothing to report on. Yeah,
it's just basically been different ideas and different theories about things. Harrison says, just ordered the extended Blue Rose cut of Firewalk with Me. Can't wait to watch that. However, the Blue Rose cut is not like, is that the Q2 edit though? Because there's a couple different fan cuts happening, or that have happened. Actually, I'm actually working on a cut myself. Can you believe that? Hang on. We gotta Philip Jeffries is beaming in from the Double R Diner himself.
Oh,
hello. This is Dustin Carpenter from Wisteria Lodge. How the heck are you? We have no sound. We can't hear you at all. No sound. No sound. I don't think he can hear us. But we can't hear you. It's like, I just want to start screaming, Oregon! There we go. Look, we're
nice.
We're
beautiful.
Let's can we bring him up? Let's see.
Oh,
we are in the Double R Diner.
So awesome.
Right now. They're about to look, so they're playing in the corner over here.
Right, nice setup
in the corner. If Wyndham Earl was sitting at the bar eating a hamburger right now, this is what would be the background. All right, cool. Oh wow, we got the White Horse. Wisteria Lodge. Oh, just so you guys know, their album dropped today. It is fantastic, and I would not tell you to go check it out if it wasn't any good. It's fantastic, though.
Yeah, I got to check it out. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. What's dangling above that? Is this the key? Oh, it's the key.
It's the heart necklace.
It's the heart necklace, but it's Cooper's key, I think, too.
Oh yeah.
Is that the 315? Oh, it's the Wisteria Lodge. Oh, wow. Very, very cool. Beautiful. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Well, they're gonna
some sweet merch.
You got to have it. You got to have the new CD available, right? Or I think they're even doing like a. Thank you. All right. Awesome.
That was cool.
All right. We have no sound, but that was fine. It's great to see. Get actually beamed into the Double R Diner.
I still haven't been there. I'm waiting for a good opportunity, but I'd like to go up.
Cyberpunk Dystopia says he just finished two new songs. Are they Twin Peaks related? Can't be talking about Stranger Things on this show. Non-existent says my edit is the best edit. Anyway, what I was saying is, for fun, I've been actually working on my own Firewalk with Me edit. It will be nothing compared to the huge Q2 edit, which basically just puts everything in there and shapes it and molds it and that kind of thing. But the one I'm working on is a very interesting experiment for me because I love editing. And so what the idea of it is David Lynch had a 2 hour and 15 minute limit. He could not go past the 135 minute time. So the way I'm doing my fan edit is taking the missing pieces that I want to put in the film. Let's just say, for example, I had 30 minutes of missing pieces that I wanted to put in that film, right? Okay. That means I need to take out 30 minutes of Firewalk with Me. So my fan edit I'm kind of putting on myself is I cannot go past that 135 minute run.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
So, but I still have to make it coherent. And I'm finding all kinds of really cool, clever ways in order to do it. I am right now 8 minutes over the limit. So I'm getting.
Oh, so you have the assemble done.
Yeah.
You just need to.
I have 8 more minutes to go. And then once I get that down to 8 minutes, then I go through it and finesse it and that type of thing. But first you have to get it underneath 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Right.
And that's been just a really fun exercise. Now, this isn't being done to, put out for, like the Q2 edit and stuff like that, but just as an interesting exercise for me. And I've had people say, oh, if you, did you cut out Deer Meadow? No, things like that. Like you can't, there are ways around certain things.
Mm-hmm.
That's just some of it would potentially make a Twin Peaks fan angry. Because of obviously you have to omit something, right? But I can actually state and justify every single cut. You have to, if you're going to make that kind of right. You have to say exactly why you would make that.
Sure,
incision.
Needs to make sense.
Believe it or not, a lot like other David Lynch stuff, if you just shave off a second or two of people looking at each other, that adds up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it actually can make the scenes, pick up a little quicker. Doesn't mean you're going Michael Bay style with it, but it just means it's going to be moving just a little bit faster, and that might get you that Jacoby scene in there. Right. So there's little tricks you can do, and there's a few things I've done where I go, I bet you if they had more time, if they weren't trying to get to the Cannes Film Festival, I bet you some of this stuff they would have tried, because some of these cuts are they just, I don't know, you can see by doing it how it just makes the efficientness of the whole material move a little bit more. Not saying it's a diss against the theatrical cut. I'm just saying it's just a fun exercise. So.
Yeah, no, especially keeping yourself in that 2:15.
Yeah, and it's like I've had people say like, when's it going to be done? There's no real time limit for it. It's just basically like when I have like half hour
pet project.
Yeah. So, I know for a while you were thinking about doing something in that world. You wanted to tell that story of that we see in The Secret History, correct?
Yeah, that story is still one that stuck out to me. I haven't really played around with the idea too much, but I'd still like to do it someday.
You should totally do it, because you're always up in Maine taking these beautiful pictures, and that looks like a perfect location to do some of that.
I think the issue is it's probably working with younger kids and kind of maybe early teenagers, because I want to tell the story of that kind of the situation that happens on the camping trip or whatever, the hike that the log lady goes on in the Secret History, because I thought that was probably one of the cooler stories in that book.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to build out that little world a little bit more, kind of fill out that night, because I think it would be cool, and that kind of created the log lady in some way. So I'd like to explore that story a little bit more.
That would be awesome. I mean, what I would suggest is if wherever you were going to shoot, that's kind of like, I would try to cast more around that area, so you're not transporting minors across state lines.
Yeah, no, that's. I think I might have to prove myself with some other stuff before I can convince parents to let their kids.
No, I think you are an amazing photographer. You've published, books already. I mean, it's like, I think you have enough track record to be like, hey, or just shoot something in your area for, as a test thing.
I mean, there's stuff in New Jersey, like I could go down to the Pine Barrens and shoot it, and it'll look pretty Twin Peaksy.
Isn't that where they supposedly,
Jersey Devil?
No, like that's where like the mafia like has dumped bodies for like decades, correct? Isn't that where it is?
I think that's kind of, that's the thing. And they even did that episode of The Sopranos down there where they like go to off this guy, and it's like really cold, and they like they don't get him, and they're just like walking around and stuff. But it's they've cleaned it up a little bit. It's like a little bit more tourist friendly. But
okay.
I don't know how much it takes to shoot something over there. But I think that would be the equivalent in the state.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, if you want to throw out any comments, questions, etc., having to do with David Lynch, Twin Peaks, anything having to do with that, throw it in the, obviously in the comments below, and we will address it. Yeah, obviously David Lynch has taken some time off. He's no longer doing the weather reports.
Right.
Apparently, but he is like enthusiastically happy because he did post something on his birthday of January 20th, saying that he's happy, he's doing well. But I wonder if he, he said he was pausing it for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine that many people passing away in that short amount of time. It's got to take a toll on you. I can imagine that's why he is really taking some time off.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he's.
I mean, Angela Badalamenti, John Neff, there was a lot of other actors, and Julie Cruz earlier in the year. It's almost like so many people of his crew.
Yeah, it's sorry. Yeah, it feels like kind of circling you a little bit. So it's like you got to pause, maybe take stock of some stuff and reassess, I guess, decide what you want to do next.
Well, because for a long time,
or nothing.
When when he's younger, you hear that story about he would always go to Bob's Big Boy at 2:30, have the same thing, preferably the same table if he could, but then he stopped doing that, right? So it's not like he's a creature of habit where he can't stop. He can go for as long as he needs to, and then when he decides to stop, he just decides to stop. Morton says, I can't see why the bend and steel part was a missing piece. The picture on the wall was enough for me to understand. The picture on the wall for me to understand that Shirka was a bit short. Oh, he can say. I think he meant I can see why it was a missing piece. The whole fight with Chet Desmond, absolutely. It was one of those things where for years you wanted to see it because you were like, wow, it'd be kind of a cool scene. And then when we saw it in the missing pieces, you right away you understood why it had been cut out.
It's a little awkward, yeah.
It's not a bad scene, but it definitely feels out of the element with the rest of the movie.
I think it would have thrown that whole, pace completely off at the beginning. I mean, you could put it in, but it kind of plays almost for a laugh, and there's other laughs already in that. I don't know, that section of the film. Like
it's the longest scene that Chet and the sheriff have together, and it's just like I guess I never thought of it being as long as it ended up being. Like I thought it was going to be kind of a quick 1-2 kind of Jack Reacher type of thing, but it's like David Lynch trying to do Rocky 3 or something. it's like a full on like boxing brawl.
Yeah. I can't really take it seriously. It kind of diminishes that character for me too. I don't know. It's not my favorite.
Well, it didn't make my cut.
Yeah. Okay, good. I was like, I'm talking about it. I'm saying it's not good, and then you put it in your.
No, I mean, I could. You could shorten it, and it might work. But it just, when you think about everything that's in that movie, it's just not. It just doesn't fit at all. I mean, it probably was one of the first things they cut out of the film, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd believe it. If we were gonna live with Chet a little bit more than we did in that movie, maybe keep it. But their time is so short.
When that movie came out, I remember a lot of people saying, "Well, why is Dear Meadow even in there?" I know why it's in there, but because obviously it was like the prelude to Laura Palmer. But a lot of people at the time were saying the whole movie should have been Laura, or it should have been all Chet and Sam Stanley investigating Teresa Banks. And I could have gone either way for both of those. I mean, I think they could have cut out Dear Meadow and just made it all Laura Palmer and included a lot of the missing scenes with her. And or I could have been down for a whole Sam Stanley, Chet Desmond movie too.
Me too.
Harrison in the chat says it's kind of reminiscent of the arm wrestling scene in season 3. Another scene that I'm not the biggest fan of.
That one also plays for a laugh for me. Like even the lines in that scene are kind of funny. This kindergarten. Yeah,
it's that whole scene is weird and awkward.
Yeah,
it's almost like sometimes I wonder. It's like, did they? Kind of like with Albert, Tammy, and Gordon in the motel room. It's like, did we spend all the money somewhere else? Because like, it seems awkward at this whole like parking garage situation where there's this gang just kind of hanging out there. I know it's intentionally over the top. Yeah. Absolutely. But there is something to me a little missing in that scene. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and watch it and think it's brilliant. But
I think there's a lot of season 3 that's like. I think season 3 is really funny. I think there's a lot of comedy in season 3.
Absolutely.
I'd keep it in that because I think it does like.
Oh, I wouldn't cut it out.
You get Mr. C, this like kind of mysterious figure, and you throw him into this very childish arm wrestling match, and it's like, okay, this is pretty funny.
Plus, the actor, had been known for playing Jason Voorhees.
Jason, right? Yeah.
And so it's and they kind of count on you knowing that a little bit. It's like an in joke.
Yeah.
Mr. C
punches his face.
Mr. C is so bad he can beat Jason. But what's weird to me about season 3 is Mr. C isn't really that bad of a character in season 3. Like he did bad things prior to season 3.
Mm-hmm.
But in season 3, the real bad guy is Richard.
Yeah. He's the one that does actively, terrible things on screen.
I mean, I put a joke on Twin Peaks Worldwide the other day saying Richard Horn is like David Lynch saying what if Frank Booth was mild? like this guy's really over like you thought Frank Booth was bad as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Move up. Richard Horn, I think, is perhaps the most evil character that David Lynch has ever put on camera, but it makes sense. He's the spawn of a demon,
basically,
right?
Yeah. I mean, he runs over a kid and he's just worried that there's blood on the truck.
He doesn't even seem like he's aware of being a human being.
Yeah, no. He just operates outside of whatever we would operate.
And him getting electrocuted on a rock is letting him off way too easy after all the crap that he did. Tony in the chat says, funny how we align with Mr. C during that sequence. I think that's true for a lot of it. I think because Mr. C, we're told that he's done bad things, but we don't really. I mean, people say, "Well, he killed Daria." Yeah, but Daria is that femme fatale that double crosses the boss and gets killed. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
She signed up for the thug life, basically. You know what I mean?
I mean, also, I think the part that the fact that we align with him also has something to do with it being Kai McLaughlin too.
Right.
We kind of just want to see him win, even
I mean,
if he's playing a monster. But
well, it's like the first time we see him in season 3. After he gets out of the car, he just walks up and like knocks that guy to the ground and walks into the cabin. Like he's a man of action right from the start. So we kind of like that. Jamie says arm wrestling is something kids would do on the playground. I think it has something to do with the immaturity of violence. Oh, absolutely.
Definitely see that.
But it is kind of bizarre too, where they just like start going into like a whole arm wrestling match. It's just
all these hard mobsters just sitting down around a table. They all gather around the bench and then they do a little.
I think that's the whole point of the scene. It's like you're expecting one thing to happen, and then all of a sudden there's an arm wrestling match.
Yeah, it's like the sweeping in the Roadhouse. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, okay, now there's this. It's like a silly thing happens amidst all,
I like that
insanity.
Sweeping. I like the sweeping.
I do too. I think it's funny.
And people say there's no point to it. Well, here's the thing: if Lynch had just shown the guy sweeping, and then it cut to another scene, yes, there's no point to it. But because it led into a phone call at the Roadhouse, that is, what it's all about. It's
also like all this other stuff is happening, and this guy is just sweeping the Roadhouse. He's just cleaning it up.
Well, you have to. I mean,
yeah,
not many people on drugs in your area, kind of. Harrison says instead of the good guy in Fire, walk with me during the boxing match. You're right. I understand. There's parallels everywhere. I'm just saying that the boxing matches is it just you can see why it got cut. Not saying it's a bad scene, but you can definitely see that.
It's not as well done as the arm wrestling match. I think it's a little awkward. I always saw it that way.
See, Happy Cynic says the main issue with Fire Walk with Me is probably the tone. I understand given the subject matter, but the tone from the series to the movie is just too jarring. And I know a lot of people say like, well, what'd you expect? It's the Laura Palmer movie. And I've said for years that as much as I love Fire Walk with Me, I also am able to look at it and critique it. I also think that when I first heard that David Lynch was going to make Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me movie about Laura Palmer, I actually thought that he was going to take a cradle to the grave approach. I thought that we were going to see Laura Palmer as a little kid. I thought we were going to see Leland and Sarah. I'm not talking about, molestation stuff. I'm just saying like just showing them as a family unit.
Life,
and then seeing them completely fall apart as a family. I thought that was going to be sort of his approach. He obviously did the last week, but it's not even the last week of Laura Palmer. When people say it's the last week of Laura Palmer, it's not, because if you go by season 1, 9/10 of the things they say happened during that week never is shown. So it was sort of David Lynch doing his own version of the last week of Laura Palmer, not what season 1 had established. Even when they find the bag of the bag of residues of cocaine in her other diary, right? I mean, up on top it talks about like her cat and stuff like that. It's like there's no cat in Laura Palmer's house. So and like her bedroom in the pilot is completely different than the bedroom we see. I mean, obviously one's the real house, one's a set. That being said, if you look at her room in the pilot, there's like a little rocking horse. It's very much like a young girl's room that she kept a lot of stuff. In Fire Walk with Me, I think that girl has like 17 lights in her room. If you I'm not kidding you. Like when there's a point at nighttime,
That's really funny.
and there's like 17 lamps on one side of the room. It's absolutely insane. I'm gonna pull up a picture when I can.
That's so funny. I never noticed.
It is absolutely insane, to say the least. Let's see if I can find.
She also doesn't have any posters up or anything. Like, I feel like could have filled it out a little bit more. She has, a picture of an angel, a little family around the table.
Yeah. There's nothing in there that distinguishes it as like a young girl's room.
It's almost like a room at her grandmother's house or something.
Right. I think obviously everything in Twin Peaks is done to create sort of a classical feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it is still so well regarded, because the music doesn't date it. The style of clothes doesn't date it. Yeah, some people can criticize the some of the hair, but not really. I mean, it's pretty classical for the most part.
I'd say like maybe Laura with the bangs, that might be a little bit, early 90s, late 80s. I think Donna is pretty. Well, when stuff is pretty timeless. Audrey's pretty timeless.
Yeah, when she comes down the stairs to talk to James and Fire Walk with Me, I mean those jeans are very 1992, right? Even though it's supposed to be 89.
Yeah.
I think, but one of my biggest issues of Fire Walk with Me is one that nobody seems to complain about, which is they shot it in the fall, and it's supposed to be February, right? And if you look at the pilot, you can tell they filmed it in February because there's snow on the mountains. It's
a lot bluer.
It's cold as heck. You can see the breath of everybody. In Fire Walk with Me, she's parading around outside in a garter belt, and it's like, it's a
lovely full day.
In fact, I had a friend who, when he saw the movie in the theater, said, "Did they even film that in the same town?" And I said, "Yeah." It was the color scheme. It's like, obviously we're in Everett, Washington, and she's outside Donna's house, but the colors are fall when she meets up Donna and they're walking to school. It's not ice cold like it is in the pilot.
But I'm just going to throw this out there too, because I've been trying to find a straight answer. If anybody knows the film stocks, I've searched around, but if anybody knows the film stocks they used to shoot, the pilot, the first season, the second season, I think they switched, and then the movie. I would love to know whichever ones they use, because I think that also, they might have been using more. They definitely use film stocks for the show because it has such a rich, warm texture and it's cinematic. But I wanted to know the difference when they went to shoot Fire Walk with Me. I'm sure they used more expensive film, but
they used like for they knew it was going to the theaters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't know. I'm just a nerd about that stuff, and I've been trying to find straight answers about what they shot it on. But I've always find like loose, open-ended kind of answers.
All right, let's see here. So we're gonna get into some scandalous pictures here, folks. So hang in there. Let's see here.
Did I avert my eyes?
All right, here we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side there.
It's pretty funny.
I mean, let's see. How do I get out of that? Let's see. All right, and then here. See, what's so funny is that, like, have you noticed? See, Annie and her have the same phone in my film. We have another lamp here. And then, but then when she goes over to the other side of the room here, let's see. Yeah, let's see, where is it? Oh, they don't show it on the other side when she does the picture. I thought they would have it. I guess not. Anyway, there's more lamps over on that side as well. So,
I guess she doesn't have any overhead lighting in that room.
No, but it's just so funny to me. I never even thought about it until I was like watching the movie more closely, because I was, recreating Laura's room for my film, and I was like, "Good Lord, how many lamps does this girl have?"
Yeah, that's funny. I never noticed that. She needs a lot of light.
She does, and like the nightgown she wears, I mean, like, those are not cheap nightgowns. I mean, she must have been making bank at One Eye Jack's.
I'm sure she was.
I mean, I think that black nightgown she has, I think, is like 130, 140. Like, you know, that's just sleepwear. So I can't even imagine.
That's probably nothing. That's probably pennies for Laura Palmer.
Yeah, she was. I mean, you know, she had $10,000 in her bank account. It's a whole whole lot of Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, for sure. She's really good at selling cookies.
Jamie says, I have 5 lamps in my studio.
I have one on my desk and then one pointed at me. Oh, I have one right there, I guess.
You got a ring light? You got a ring light pointing at you?
So I bought like a lamp for this office because this room also doesn't have overhead lighting, but it changes color. So I flip it over and I use it as a ring light. It worked out.
Very cool. All right, so the chat is slowly dying. Throw out any Twin Peaks questions and comments. Jamie says, I forgot the ring light. 6.
There you go.
There it is.
Anybody who makes YouTube videos.
Happy Saying says, as far as film stocks goes, I must say digital definitely killed David Lynch. I mean, there's YouTube channels with better cinematography. Damn. Damn.
Wow, went for it.
I thought season 3 looked good.
Yeah, I thought season 3 looked good. It definitely was a lot flatter than Fire Walk with Me or
I mean, if someone said to me, what is your preferred version of a Twin Peaks look? I'm going to say season 1.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, season 1 is so perfectly balanced. Season 2, I love season 2. Season 2 is my personal favorite season. But I mean, they brightened up that Double R Diner like there's nobody's business. Whereas you compare that to the pilot, when you were first introduced to Bobby, Shelley, and Norma, it looks like they don't even have one light in that place.
I like the darker, more contrast, a little bit warmer look instead of it looking more like a studio. It's a lot cleaner, a lot brighter.
And the Double R Diner in the series, until we get to season 3, actually grows almost every scene. It appears like, because if you look at it in the pilot, obviously that's the real place. Okay, let's look at season 1 when Maddie and James meet, and then James goes over to the payphone and calls, and Doc Hayward's like, who ever heard of diet lasagna? Which that is as close to being a modern reference in Twin Peaks, right? Is the diet lasagna. Because even like the chocolate bunnies and stuff, that could go back years and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you look at that, I'd be curious to know, did the set get bigger, or did they just, use wider lenses? Or what? Because by the time you get to Gordon hitting on Shelley and Truman running into the bathroom and Cooper flirting with Annie, that place looks like Bob's Big Boy. It's huge.
I have to really rewatch it, but I probably would say they went wider lenses. Season 1 was a lot tighter with everything. So I'm thinking they went a little bit, wider with season 2. A lot of wider shots. I feel like season 1 is like a lot of close-ups, a lot of really like tight in there frames, but I don't know.
Do you have like favorite shots from the show, or transitions, or like what are some of the, like, if you think about the show, what are some of the imagery that comes up?
I mean, anything of the falls. They were always good at showing those.
When in doubt, cut to the falls.
Yeah, I mean, those were always beautiful shots.
Right. But they never really like showed the hotel and the falls and then cut to somewhere else. Like if they showed the hotel in the shot, we were going into the hotel. If they just showed the falls, we could be going somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yeah. I like a lot of the stuff in the Great Northern. I think a lot of those were composed. I just like the colors in the Great Northern. I like the darker wood kind of tones and
All right.
stuff.
All
There's
right.
like the red hue.
Let me pause you right there because I'm going to go a question inside of a question. I was talking with someone the other day. I'll ask you if we could have been lucky enough to walk the sets back in the original series, what sets would you have wanted to see? What like 3 sets would you have wanted to see?
Probably Black Lodge first,
Really?
because I feel like that's kind of a given. I'd probably want to be Great Northern. Like, I know it exists, but I'd like to see Great Northern at that time, or just be on the set for that.
Well, the set is different than the
actual hotel. Yeah. So I'd like to do Great Northern because I feel like I just always like stuff in the Great Northern.
Right. I think the lobby of the Great Northern is fantastic.
I love the that one. If not the Black Lodge, would be Great Northern first, and then maybe One-Eyed Jacks actually, or Blackie's, like, because I like the set. Like, those sets are really
so
cool.
Season 2 is a set, right?
Yeah.
Season 1 was filmed in somebody's house.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. There's if you go to Stephen Miller's site, Twin Peaks blog, there's a whole breakdown of pictures from inside the house, and it still pretty much looks identical to what is in the show. Just wherever there was a window, they'd put up drapes and create. But like the billiard room is where they have the pool table, right? Is like one side is like where Blackie comes out and then meets the guys at the bar, right? And then like it's so funny. It's like the card table would be on one corner of the room, but then Cooper and Jacques were having a table they set up right like next to this aquarium they had, which was like 5 feet away from the card table room or card table. And then like in the background is like you can see the staircase where Ben and Jerry walked up to meet Blackie and the first. It was so condensed, but they made it feel like you were in this vast little whorehouse casino.
I love the design of that space. I would. I mean, I'd like to obviously go on like Roadhouse, but I think that one is a little bit cooler because Roadhouse just looks like a roadhouse you'd find in most like small towns and stuff. But I think Blackie's or One-Eyed Jacks would be really cool.
Right. I think it would have been good. I think the diner set would be fascinating. I think Laura Palmer's living room in the series, because obviously they used the real house for the pilot in the movie, and in season 3. But in terms of the series, because the whole living room was flipped. The front door in the series is where the back door is in real life.
Right.
So like when Truman and Cooper come in to arrest Leland and he's sitting there on the couch with Maddie, they're actually coming in the back door if you're going by the real location.
Oh yeah, that's right. Never thought.
Yeah, your sound is a little off now. Did you hit a wire?
Oh yeah, I might have hit something.
Happy Cynic says, I always remember the criticism that I had about the look of the Black Lodge from network to Showtime. The Black Lodge should never have been that bright and digital ever. Well, I remember when Sabrina came on the show, I said, did they use like green screen for that? And she goes, no, we actually, and obviously you see in the behind the scenes stuff, yes, there are on a set. But when we watched it, there was some sort of feeling that it felt like they just almost were green screening that whole Black Lodge stuff.
It was how do I sound now?
You're still kind of echoey, like you're in the ocean.
Oh, weird. Okay. I don't know what's going on.
It sounds good. It sounds fine.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I think it was too well lit. In the return, it was just too well lit. There wasn't enough shadow. Like you could, all the lines were pretty narrow. There wasn't any like sweeping lights. You didn't see any like shadows anywhere. It was just.
I think there was a reason. I think there was a reason for it though, because obviously it's very mysterious what we see in the original series. But at this point, Cooper's been there for so long, it almost feels like a Walmart. It's just the lights are on. I mean, maybe he found the light switch and turned it all the way on. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, if we're trying to see it from Cooper's perspective, maybe it's just like, yeah, this is what it is, kind of. It's not really that mysterious anymore. It's kind of, I see everything going on here.
And since Bob is gone and the doppelganger, right? There's not a lot of creeping shadows probably happening. It's just him and the one-armed man hanging out,
And maybe Leland sometime.
Find Laura. Oh my goodness!
He's been saying this for 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, I've met people who, and I've met Ray Weiss a couple times myself, and he's a lovely, lovely man. But I've also met people who said, like, yeah, he doesn't like season 3 questions at all, because again, the actors didn't know how big or how small their parts were going to be. And from what I understand, he showed up the first day, did his stuff, and then they said, "Thank you, Ray." That's a wrap on Ray Weiss. And I don't think he was prepared for that. So he's much more happy to talk about Firewalk with me and other things.
Yeah.
But what were we talking about? We're talking about the sets, but then we were talking about something before that. There was because I paused you and I said, "What?"
Because you were asking me what sets.
Oh, no. What shots that you think
shots?
about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
obviously there's there's the show off shots, which I love, which is the zoom in on Jacoby's eye that turns into the One-Eyed Jack's, blackjack thing.
So I'm gonna do another eye shot is when they're looking at the tape of Laura and Donna, when they're interrogating, and then they zoom into her eye. I love that shot of the eye and the reflections in that too.
Absolutely.
That one stands out.
That was the moment in the pilot when we realized that that Cooper was Hall of Famer right there. that he knew. And Cooper in the pilot is a little different than he is in the rest of the series. He's a little meaner. I mean, he's nice and sweet to people, but he plays with Bobby, Bobby, this is how it works, right?
Yeah, he's a little slick.
He's a little, and I understand it. He doesn't know who Bobby Briggs is, but then you cut to 2 weeks later, apparently in the show, and he's just hanging out with Bobby and Shelley.
I mean, yeah, I don't think he's too different. I think he just became super intoxicated with Twin Peaks.
No, but when he comes in the pilot, he's more yes, he's an individual, but he's very more FBI. He's coming in to get.
And he also just came from Philly from there, right?
I believe he was already on the West Coast, which is why they sent him.
He went up the
right. I think that because he people seem to forget that he doesn't come into the show until Ronette crosses the state line. He's not called in because of Laura,
yeah.
But I mean, that's why Cooper is still on the case if Laura doesn't die and just disappears, because Ronette crosses the state line anyway. So that's where all that comes from. But in terms of shots, I mean, there's so many great shots. Obviously, we can wax forever about some of the Lynch shots, but there are just shots that are just ingrained in my head. And even a transition would be Jacoby talking to Bobby Briggs in season 1, and him crying and it dissolving to the bird in the sky with the Laura Palmer music playing. Jacques close up of his mouth saying, "Bite the bullet, baby." It's oh my goodness, because you see the child molester nature of Jacques Renault, and so you can feel Cooper needing to know this information, but you can read it on Kyle's face. He's also disgusted by what he's hearing, but he can't show it. But you can read it on his face, because he takes that moment and goes, "Thanks for clearing that up." It's he is, and that's why when he just leans down and goes, "Got a trout on the line, Hawk. This one's a keeper." It's and that music kicks in. Oh my God, I get chills just thinking about it. But I love those, that one image that closes out. I think it's episode 6 of the point of view of what ends up being Leland as Bob. hanging around by Easter Park and watching Cheryl Lee as Madeline dressed up as Laura hanging by the gazebo,
Mhm.
and you see that kind of handheld shot, and you hear the heavy breathing. That's pretty scary stuff if you think about that.
No, yeah, they did that well. I mean, anything with Bob, like early stuff with Bob, where he's just like kind of creeping over the furniture.
Yeah.
That one's always a standout.
I mean,
Obviously, sycamore trees and the curtains behind them, in
yeah, I
front of
mean,
them.
personally, I think that the season 2 finale, where you see Wyndham leading Annie into the Black Lodge or Cooper go into the Black Lodge, are better than the ones we see in Firewalk with Me and season 3 of that location.
Mhm.
There is, you can really see like through the curtains. The curtains are wavy and they seem like they're there, but not there. And then Firewalk with Me in season 3, there's just giant red curtains in
Boom.
the middle.
Yeah.
In the middle of the woods, and I like that transparentness of them.
Yeah, it's like you're kind of just making them out, like it's revealing itself to you more than it's just like, come on in, you know?
Right, it almost makes you think, did Truman see that,
Mhm.
or just the people who are there?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
little bit more alluring and less, just straight up in your face, like, come on in,
come on in, bring a can of
bring a
cream
friend.
corn
Yeah.
and get 10% off. Happiest thing says everyone criticized the effects when Coop gets dragged through the electrical socket in the purple room, but I really liked it. It's an odd effect, but it's still worked. I didn't have a problem with that. That just seemed like all those effects in season 3, most of them seem like early David Lynch art school effects that he did in like Grandmother and Alphabet and stuff like that. Like it's
Yeah, I
just
got a little bit of a racer head with that, especially stuff in that room.
right. I mean, as somebody who has done editing for a good chunk of my life, there's 2 sequences in particular in season 3 that are just awe-inspiring and also make me think, good Lord, how long did that take? One is the when Cooper's talking to Nido in the purple room and it's all jittery and it like jumps
Oh
back
my
a frame
god,
and then forward a frame,
I
and
was thinking the same.
right? I'm just like, that's amazing, but that could literally drive me crazy. And the other one, and in a good way. And then the other one, of course, is in episode 8 when you see the woodsman just in the I don't even know, like, were they so shot specific or were they just like you know what I mean, making small cuts and linking
And
them
just
together?
like throwing them. Yeah, I always wondered that too, if they were intentional or it's just like
I,
f it up like
I
kind of
have a
thing.
long joke about this, actually, a long-standing joke, and I don't know if there's any truth to it, obviously, but I like to, as someone who has edited, like I said, when you see a sequence like that, like the woodsman scene, right? You say to yourself, they either spent a tremendous amount of time doing that and getting it really what they wanted it to be, or eh, this sounds really funny, or David Lynch had an argument with the wife and then distanced himself, hold himself in there, and just focused on this one scene. And was just like, I am going to make this the greatest scene of the whole dang series, and put all his focus and attention on this one moment and stayed up all night working on it. Because that's the what you get from that sequence. It's someone who's so meticulous, they threw himself into that sequence, and for a minute long or 2 minutes, however long it lasts, it just feels like nothing in the world mattered at that moment but that sequence.
Hmm.
And you only get that is if you have a team of people, or you just have a lot of time and you're just, or you get in an argument with your significant other and you just go, I'm going to write this chapter if it kills me tonight, or I'm going to
Yeah.
edit that scene if it kills me. And I've gotten confirmation that David Lynch himself did edit that whole sequence. He removed the team, so he did that whole sequence. So that says to me he really
He
had
needed it.
he needed to do it.
Yeah, I want to know how long it take, because I mean, it seems like simple, but it probably took him like 3 to 4 hours,
No,
maybe.
it's one of, because it doesn't, it's not like what I would describe, which was like, taking parts out and then linking it together, because the woodsmen do move
Oh,
in
right. They
it,
they almost zip like
they don't zip around in different places. There is
it's like
movement,
yeah.
right there, but it's almost like he took out every fifth frame or every, fifth and eighth frame or something because it's the jittery.
And then he reversed some so that it looked like they're kind of going.
I mean, the scene itself probably didn't take very long to shoot, to be honest. They probably filmed that for half hour.
It's
walk
one
around.
shot.
All you gotta do is walk around, and then you play with it. I have gotten confirmation though that season 3 was because of the length of time and also resources and stuff like that. It was shot a lot of it run and gun. Let's go. Let's get it done. Let's move on.
Seemed like.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, just from like behind the scenes stuff, it seems like maybe that everything was like really under like a time constraint. I don't know if they had like budget to only shoot. I mean, it definitely seemed like they were only allowed to shoot in certain places for very small amounts of time. So it seemed like a lot was like happening, and then they team come in, team go out. That might be why like the whole finale might have been was leaked because they probably were trying to get that done so fast, but people caught on and stuff. So that got kind of messed up. But
well, we know that they were supposed to be filming in Washington a little bit longer, another week or so, when that leak happened, and they pulled everything to LA. Now Sabrina, very nice, she said, no, we were always gonna. But I know people who were supposed to be filming up there during that week, and they got their scenes moved to LA. They went to LA to shoot their scenes.
And that I believe it because I feel like a lot of stuff in the town they were trying to definitely the town they were trying to get through quick before crowds started to form and stuff. So it's like we got to get in and get out, get the shots.
I don't think there was. I mean, it's still Washington State. I mean, even if there was a little crowd, it's not like you're filming in New York City. I mean, you're still dealing.
Seattle's not that far,
right? But I mean, I don't think honestly there were more than. I don't think it was like hundreds of people watching them film. I mean,
no.
I think it was under 50 given a situation. But they just weren't counting on somebody periscoping a live stream.
That's right. They live streamed it. That's when Periscope was.
It was on Twitter. It wasn't just like those couple shots you saw on TMZ. It was live streamed. I remember sitting there on Twitter just watching this thing, going, "What the hell?" I've never been able to find it again. I guess it got pulled down, but I mean, the guy. It was on there for a few hours. I don't mean like just a couple clips. I mean like it was live streaming for a couple hours.
I'm pretty sure I saw it at some point that night. I had seen the TMZ story first, and then I went to look for it. But.
Right. Let's see. Morton says, wasn't Leland Bob supposed to have a pig's head during the bedroom scene with Laura? Yes. But Shirley objected to it. But that would tie in with the whole animal life concept that they were going with. I've also, I mean, there was supposed to be other elements of that into the movie that just ended up not happening. Again, I think Fire Walk with Me was shot very fast. And it's interesting because I was talking with someone the other day, and they were saying that that a lot of Lynch's films, because of the budget, they it is a lot of it is fast. When Josh Eisenstadt was on here a couple weeks ago, he told me this. He told all of us actually, but he told me the story of when they were shooting Lost Highway and they needed a shot of Natasha Gregson Wagner coming out of her house and getting into Balthazar Getty's car, which is in the movie. He goes to pick her up, or his girlfriend. And the house that they had found, David had only seen it during the day, and when they got there at nighttime, he didn't think it was right. Oh. So they cruised the neighborhood, and then David Lynch said, "I like that house." And someone got out of the car, ran, knocked on the door, and said, "Hi, do you know David Lynch? Can Natalie Wood's daughter just come out of your house and get in the guy's car?" "Yeah, go ahead." They shot it in like 20 minutes.
I love that.
But what I love about it is it makes Lynch feel like us.
Yeah,
You know.
I think he's stayed that way. He's very hands on. It seems like. I mean, he's always making stuff. So
Well, even in season 3, the behind the scenes stuff, you see him like, in
literally
the woods,
shaking a camera.
shaking the, mixing the, not the plaster of Paris in the woods, right?
Right.
But I mean, you could definitely tell he's very much in that mold of like Terry Gilliam and those kind of directors that just like you can tell it's their films, it's their work. Anyway, so yeah, so Run and Gun seems to be what he does. But like, for instance, I also heard that like, Josh told me that when they were shooting Mulholland Drive, they were very careful. They had enough budget that like it was very meticulous, and they would take 2 days to shoot a scene. So like he had more time then, and that's why he says that if you look at Peter Deming's work with David Lynch, Mulholland Drive feels a little more classier than some other works, because that's not the mentality of they were able to really
move the camera around and take their time with the spaces and
right. Again, it's not a knock against any other work, but you can tell the difference between something like Hotel Room and The Straight Story. Right.
Yeah.
You can tell. That's why Blue Velvet and Wild at Heart like feel like cinematic epics.
Outside of maybe The Return, which movie has had the biggest budget? Was it Mulholland Drive? I wonder.
Well,
now I'm curious.
Well, that was $7 million for the pilot, and then they added a couple more million for the reshoots.
Right.
But
so I'm guessing The Return was probably the biggest budget, but
well, and Josh said on one of the shows that that David Lynch was still very much in the Twin Peaks spirit while making Mulholland Drive, and would like play little trivia games with Josh on the sidelines in between shots. So when people go, "Oh, it just happens to be a coincidence that there's a Laura Palmer and a Ronette Pulaski look-alike in the Club Silencio," I say no. Obviously, it's not Phoebe Augustine and Cheryl Lee, but you're telling me that the Robert Blake's character in Lost Highway is not from the Black Lodge. Like you're smoking something if you don't think that's true. There is sort of the red drapes appear behind Isabella Rossellini in Blue Velvet, right? From the Black Lodge floor is in Eraserhead. It's all connected, folks.
It's all in the dreams.
It doesn't mean that it's all one world, but just the common denominator is it's David Lynch's mind.
Yeah.
So that's how it's connected.
He likes his symbolism. He likes to throw it in everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm seeing all the I don't know how accurate these are, but it seems like his Lost Highway, 15 million, Mulholland Drive, 15 million. The Return was definitely the most expensive. It was 41 million.
You actually have a budget for the Return?
From what I see here, the narrator mentioned the Showtime series and said it had a budget of 41 million. The Return and Doom are the two largest budgets he ever had.
What's the website?
This is I'm trying to find where his source, because this is just from Reddit.
Yeah, I don't. That's not dependable then.
But I don't know if any of these are dependable. That's just what I'm seeing come up. Dune makes sense though.
I think Dune probably was the biggest budget.
Yeah.
Adjusted for inflation, absolutely.
Yeah, this is interesting. I'm seeing Mulholland Drive and
But what's really sad though is if you do like the box office of his films, like Wild at Heart is one of the few. I think Wild at Heart, Straight Story are like some of the only ones that actually broke even or made money.
I mean, Straight Story probably had way more marketing money.
Well, it had Disney.
Yeah. Wild at Heart is actually, I don't know if maybe people knew the book, but
no, people still don't know the book.
Yeah.
But did I tell you that I think I showed it on here, but I don't think I told you. I have the original book when it came out, but now there is a book of all 8 or 10 of the books all in one. Now you can get the Barry Gifford, Sailor Ripley, Lula Fortune collection,
check that out.
and you get it on eBay for like $6, folks. Like, do it. It's great. And there's even a spinoff from Wild at Heart. That movie Perdita Durango.
Oh,
which is based on, now it's Rosie Perez instead of Isabella Rossellini playing the part, but it is the character, The Further Adventures of. You can get that on 4K now.
Yeah, check it out.
Fragment to Focus says Eraserhead was $30,000, 1970s dollars. David Lynch gave that away in some newspaper in the 80s. That's amazing. So, all right, guys. I think Joey's going to be heading out in a few minutes.
Yeah.
How much more time you got?
Probably have about maybe 10, 15 more minutes.
All right. So I'm going to do a self-indulgent thing, guys. So please forgive me. Well, no, because Joey's been talking to me about wanting to do the Queen of Hearts discussion, and which we're going to do on his channel. But is there anything you wanted to discuss while people are throwing out any comments or questions in the chat?
Do I have anything I want to discuss? Yeah, what film stock did you use on Queen of Hearts?
4K digital.
Yeah. I do have a question. What was, I don't know if you've ever told me this, but what was the hardest scene to shoot, and what was the hardest scene to edit? If they were different.
Well, I'm trying to think. What was the hardest scene to shoot?
Not like logistical, but like it just couldn't get it like.
Well, like I said, the only scenes that are not in the movie itself are the scenes we couldn't shoot because of the pandemic.
Right.
I managed to get every scene to work enough to be able to put it in the film that I felt comfortable with. Obviously, the robbery scene with Wyndham and Cooper was difficult because across the street, while we were filming that, a store was being robbed, and there were cops surrounding that store with guns pulled out. And here we were running around with shotguns in a store, and people in burglar masks. So that was difficult.
Right, you told me that story. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I think some of the, like for instance, the scene where we shot Cooper and Annie talking on the gazebo, that was difficult because one, it wasn't the location we originally wanted because we lost that because of the pandemic. So we had to get this replacement one, which I liked, but it made it so that I had to shoot it in a certain way. It also, we were only allowed out for, that few days. California let go of their restrictions for a few days. And so we just all went there and shot that. But again, no permits, pandemic situation. And so I was really nervous about let's shoot it. But I was looking all around for cops everywhere, you know what I mean? Because that location is about 4 blocks from the police station.
Oh.
So it's not like we wouldn't have been spotted.
Yeah.
But then again, it's not like we had tons of lights everywhere. I mean, it was 2 people sitting on a gazebo and me with a camera. It wasn't like 50 people staying there in the park where they
could have been your relatives for all they knew.
Right. And we didn't have any problems. But you're just always worried and nervous about, well, what if we get? I think one of the hard ones was Annie having her breakdown outside of Glastonbury Grove because we had a location that was like 45 minutes away. And we all traveled there. And of course, we had to build the trees up and all that stuff, right? So we get that all situated, and we're about to shoot the scene, and everyone's ready, and Maddie's worked herself up to get in that state, and the Rangers pull up.
Right.
And of course, we're shooting no permits, nothing. So, and again, it's a public park area, but nobody's really there, right? Because we shot it really early in the morning. And so the ranger, what are you doing? And the reason why that happened is because one of our other actors had gotten lost, pulled up to the ranger station, says, "Oh, I'm here to film the Twin Peaks movie."
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, so the Rangers showed up. What's going on? And I'm like, can we just have like 10 minutes to just finish this? no, get the trees and go. So I had to frantically make some calls to people. But here's the good news. The person that made that accidental mistake to the ranger station found us the location where we ultimately shot it at. So they made amends, and Maddie and I both agree that the location we have now is even better than the one we're going to shoot. So it ended up working out. So that was difficult, but it was like, oh my goodness, we're gonna have to find that clearing, do the trees, and all that thing.
Set those up in the
Very
Before I go, last question: how much of the music, because music is like a huge part of Queen of Hearts, how much of the music was planned in the writing versus the actual edit? Did you have all that planned, or did that all come when you were editing?
It's all in the script, except for one, which is Sweet Caroline. Okay. And the reason for that, so all the songs, if you read the script, all the songs are in the script. There's two changes. But I'll talk about the Sweet Caroline one because that's the one I can. So in the script, it's revealed, Gordon comes and tells Cooper Caroline's here. She only wants to talk to you. Mm-hmm. So in the script, Gordon takes Cooper back to this back hallway where, kind of like where you see those emergency staircases, where people take their smoking breaks on those staircases. Mm-hmm. And I figured, he wouldn't want the, the people in the office to see Caroline coming in and talking to him. Right. Mm-hmm. So he was going to usher her in, or I was going to end up ushering her in. And then they were going to have their little conversation in this back hallway. And then that was going to be the scene. Basically the same dialogue, same everything, but it's just going to be there. But we couldn't find that. And I remembered a location where we could have shot that, but it ended up not working out, or for whatever reason. I think they had changed it. It had been 20 years since I saw that location. I think it had been changed. So the location we got, I said, I need a hallway for her to come down and meet Cooper. And this guy was very lovely. He's like, I got this perfect location. And the building's closed Sunday, so you can come in Sunday and have the access to the building. Great. Nice. So we get there and we realize, okay, it's not a back staircase. It's actually the main room of where the FBI would be, or at least that part of the office, right? And so again, Caroline's supposed to come see Cooper. Here's the thing, though. She was supposed to just kind of come around the corner, and Cooper was going to be there. Wait, Caroline, what's going on? What do you want? Right? But the way the location was, and where Cooper was going to have to be, she was going to have to come around the corner at the end of the hallway, which was down on the other side of the room. And I didn't want to just have her come around the room and just walk, and then him just kind of
stare. Yeah.
While she's standing there, what, and then all of a sudden she gets there. Caroline, what do you want? Right? That would have been awkward and weird. And so I remember thinking, oh yeah, Sweet Caroline would be the song you would play for the montage of Cooper and Caroline dating. Mm-hmm. But they never get to that point because she's killed relatively quick. After they first kiss, right? She's killed that night. And so I wanted to have kind of a feeling of Cooper thinking about what a relationship with her might be like in his mind,
right,
while he's waiting for her. So I just tweaked it so that he was nervous, getting antsy, not, oh, she's going to come. And then when she comes around the corner and just kind of swelling this music and stuff. And I thought that would buy us the time to get her down to the end of the hallway to him. Mm-hmm. And also kind of reflect on Cooper's. It kind of lets you know that Cooper's really falling for her.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, there it is.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. So that's how it happened. All right. I'll let you go, and I'll stay on for a little bit. Hopefully we can get some other people to hop on, but it was a pleasure. Thank you, Joey. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Happy Twin Peaks Day, everyone. See you soon.
Take it easy. All right, guys, let's get Joey's banner off here. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Let's see here. That's really interesting, frame and focus. $30,000 for Racerhead. I mean, again, it's 1970s dollars, but still, I mean, that's a lot of paper routes for him to do. Pyramid of Focus also says Queen of Hearts is a wonder. The dedication. Absolutely. It's amazing that I was telling Joey before we started that when I was making Queen of Hearts, I was working 60 hours a week during the weekdays, coming home, taking care of Mr. C, and then filming the movie on the weekends. And of course, planning things in the week for the weekend. It's amazing that that the film even came out in a way that was coherent. I think that has to do with the fact that the script was written, and during the week I could kind of plan like what the shots were going to be for that weekend, so that when I got to the weekend, I really had to just do minor things or things that we had to adjust in the moment. The preliminary work had already been done, so I didn't really have to wasn't like stressing out like what's my first shot gonna be, because I would have just probably folded at that moment. But anyway, it's great to see you guys here. We'll see if and that was very nice of Dustin to come on and give us a little tour here. Let's see. And a lot of people obviously are working right now because it is still midday, folks. But I figured I would have some time to come on in here and do it, because it's very hard to do long shows with Mr. C now that he's turning 5 this year. And of course, he knows how to open doors, and he loves the camera. So whenever he sees me on camera, he likes to come up and say hi to everybody. So, Happy Cynic says, do you have any Twin Peaks inspired original stories that you might film in, say, 10 years? Well, it's funny you asked that. So the answer is yes, but it's probably not going to ever happen. So don't get your hopes up here. Because I always wanted to film Queen of Hearts. Now that's done. Got it made. Fantastic. And it was always meant to be a standalone story. However, when I was editing the film, I kind of thought in my head, like, well, if the off chance, and we know this isn't happening, but if the off chance, Showtime, CBS, Lynch Frost Productions, somebody saw it and they liked it, or like aspects of it, whatever, and they were like, hey, do you have any other ideas? I wanted to be able to say, yes, I do. And so I didn't really think about it much, but there is a story that I was kind of thinking about, and that has actually morphed into a telling of that story intermixed with a continuation of what Queen of Hearts is. So it would pick up more or less where Queen of Hearts ended, but it would tie in with this original story and basically be a Queen of Hearts sequel mixed in with a season 4 type of feeling. Obviously it's probably never going to happen, but I do have it on the back burner in case somebody asks me about it. So, but it's very, it would be very cool. Very cool. Martin says, the African-American in Club Silencio behind Lauren Ronette reminds me of the electrician from the Above the Convenience Store. It's a good observation there. Hello, Ashton. Good to see you. All right, guys. Well, I'm not sure if anybody else was going to be able to come. However, if you have any last comments or questions, please do, and I'll do my best to address them. But this has been lovely. Thank you. This is really nice to be able to come on here and talk Twin Peaks and David Lynch with all you guys. And Josh will be on here soon again, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. I always have really interesting conversations. So, all right, guys, I'll be on here for another minute or so, and let me know if there's anything you guys want to discuss. Ashton says, you think someone else can take over where David Lynch left off on The Return? I think it's possible. Absolutely. I mean, it'll be a different thing, but then every single season, an incarnation of Twin Peaks is a different thing. Season 1 and season 2 are very different. Similar, yes, but different. Fire Walk with Me is different. Season 3 is different. The books are different. I think it's possible. Absolutely. In fact, I never thought we'd ever see another David Lynch directed Twin Peaks thing again. I thought the last thing we would have seen of his would have been the Georgia Coffee commercials, or at least the missing pieces. But we definitely got more than that. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to be wrapping things up, but if you get any last minute comments or questions in there, I'll address them. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure to follow us on Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. You can email us at any time at obnoxiousandanonymous@hotmail.com. Alan Cooper's here. Great to see you. Says, I'm still hoping for Wisteria Lane. Wisteria Lane. I have a feeling the show would be called Unrecorded Night, and it would probably be a Wisteria production. And the reason why is because Elephant Man, Blue Velvet, Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, Straight Story, Twin Peaks, Inland Empire. I think Lynch likes that 2-word name. And I think Wisteria reminds me a little bit of Rancho Rosa, that kind of feeling. So I have a feeling that is what would it would end up being. Ashton says, I was thinking of adapting my fanfic stories to shows and films. Well, you should definitely do it. It's possible. Happy Cynic says, I do love what you came up with for Annie. It's something David would never do because I feel he'd think it was too much of a mission for her, and he's just not that concrete anymore. However, if you get his book, Lynch on Lynch, he talks very matter-of-factly in that book. Or if you see those behind-the-scenes videos of season 3, especially when he's talking to his crew, or even on the Inland Empire stuff, Lynch 1, Lynch 2, Lynch 3 became The Art Life. But if you see him where he's not having I think David Lynch is always David Lynch, right? But I think that sometimes when he's being interviewed, he puts on the persona of David Lynch. He gives you a heightened version of David Lynch, because when you see him kind of relaxing and smoking and talking about, booking Richard Beamer, whether they need to book him for another day or not, he knows what he's doing. The guy's not a adult, right? I mean, the guy is a genius, and he knows what he's doing, and he knows why he's doing certain things. He may not be able to put a concrete reason, but he trusts his gut enough to know this is what we got to do. This is the logistics of how we need to pull it off. But for instance, in Lynch on Lynch, he talks about that scene with Annie visiting Laura, which wasn't the first incarnation of the scene. The first incarnation in the original script was that it was Cooper in the bed delivering the message to Laura. And then they have sex. Like, how weird would that have been? But he changed it to Annie. And he talks about how it would be like somebody in the 1920s saying Lee Harvey Oswald in 1920 and then having it pay off later. So I think, and he goes a little more detail into that, but I don't know. Lynch definitely would never have made Queen of Hearts the way I did. He would have a bigger budget. He would have the original actors, but I also think that some of my writing, the way I write, is very different than the way he writes. However, I will say this: if you ever get a hold of a David Lynch script, he writes a tremendous amount more dialogue than he lets into the final film. Sometimes he cuts it down while he's shooting, and sometimes he lets them do the whole thing, and then just like if you go and look at the scene in here, let me while we're here, let's look at this. I just want to show you this. Okay. Sorry, give me a second here. Here's the Fire Walk With Me script, which you can find online. This is not the first draft. This is one of the this is the shooting script here. Let's see here. Okay, sorry. It's just the script's different than the film, so let's see. Where is it? Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to find this one scene in the middle of nowhere. Truman and Josie. That would have been an interesting scene. I don't think they ever shot that, though. Interesting. Where is it? Of course, I normally can find this stuff right away, but okay, here it is. So in the script, it says Saturday, 5 days before, James comes by on his bike. This is the scene where James pulls up on his bike outside Laura's house and she comes out. He beeps out a signal on the bike's horn. After a beat, Laura runs out to him. James says, "Where were you last night? We were supposed to get together. You didn't show up." Laura says, "You were supposed to show up. Maybe I wasn't." James says, "We were supposed to be together." Laura says, "How can I be together if I'm not together?" James says, "You're on something again, aren't you?" Laura says, "James." And then he says, "When am I going to see you?" And then she says, "I got to go." In the movie, he just says, "Where were you last night?" And then there's a pause. You get a look from her, and then he says, "You're on something again, aren't you?" And then she says, "James." And then it cuts back to James saying, "We were supposed to get together." And then it cuts back to Laura saying, "I got to go." So, I mean, like, he rearranged all that dialogue into, two back and forths, and then he was out. So, he does like to play around with the material, but he writes a lot more than what you see in the film. So, anyway, gives you an idea. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time hanging out with me today. It means a lot. And make sure to follow us. We're going to be doing a lot of cool things this year on this channel, and I think you're really going to get a kick out of it. So again, follow us on Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email us anytime. AdamNoxious@hotmail.com. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. All right, my name is Cameron. Have a wonderful day. Take it easy. Take care. Bye-bye.